Now, a year after the first cases of COVID-19 were confirmed in China, mass vaccination programs are now offering a chance to end the pandemic. At the same time, new strains, some of which appear to be more infectious than the original one, are threatening to derail progress in fighting the disease. Scientists say one way to capture the effectiveness of our effort to fight the virus is to achieve herd immunity. But to help us better understand what exactly herd immunity is, we're joined now by Professor Tivani Thompson. She's Professor and Deputy Dean of Research and Postgraduate Studies at the University of Pretoria. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Perhaps let's start with the very first basic question. When we talk about herd immunity, what exactly are we referring to?
Thank you for having me. So the term herd immunity, it means community immunity, and this is achieved when a large number of our population, or a large number of a certain population, is immune against a certain disease condition. So when we have enough people in a community that have immunity or resistance to a cause of disease or a virus or a bacteria, and that we can define that as herd immunity. So herd immunity can be achieved in two pathways. You can achieve herd immunity naturally, the natural pathway, or through a vaccine. So the natural pathway is when your body is exposed to a virus or a bacteria, then it develops protective antibodies that helps it now, respond to future infections and protect you. Then the vaccine immunity, which is another pathway of getting the immunity, is when the vaccine acts as an artificial, antigen. It's a substance that helps the body thinks that it's infected, and then it produces those protective antibodies. So when a large number of people in a population have this immunity, then we are all protected.
A very interesting.
And then the disease, the virus or the antigen does not have anywhere to go when we are now we're all immune and we have resistance to being infected.
I wanted to ask you, Prof, you mentioned the first case scenario of achieving herd immunity or community immunity, which is the natural pathway. So does it mean then that if one has contracted COVID-19 before, that they actually have been certified to be immune to the virus? In other words, if you've gotten once, you will not get it again. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you for that question. So in the case of COVID-19, it has been proven that the natural immunity is not strong enough to, for the body to get infected and then have the natural immunity doesn't give you strong enough protection. Hence, there's now the talk of a vaccine. So if we were able to get strong enough immunity through the natural immunity, there will be no talk of a vaccine. So that's ruled out in the case of the natural immunity is ruled out for COVID-19. People who were infected in the past have some antibodies in their systems, but it has been shown that they can be infected again, and the protection is not guaranteed.
What we are seeing, Professor, with COVID-19 is that it does change. Now there's the variant that has been discovered. The vaccinations that have now been approved, are they also effective on the new variant of COVID-19 that has come up?
So that is still under investigation. Hence, we hear there are many trials on these vaccines. And what I know is that there's still more new vaccines that are being developed during the era of the variants. Yes, there were earlier vaccines, maybe which were developed before the variants appeared. But the development of vaccines is ongoing. So we don't know right now. We'll only get answers when most of the trials have been completed, and then we can get certain certainty on whether the current vaccines can protect us against the new variants.
Minister Zweli Mkhize highlighted that in order for South Africa to receive herd immunity, out of the average 60 million population that we have, about 40 million would then have to be actually vaccinated in order for us to get that community or herd immunity. And he's given a time frame of saying that that can actually be achieved in 2021. Given what you've just said now about the unpredictability of this new variant and the unsubstantiated effectiveness of the vaccine in dealing with that variant, do you actually think it is possible to achieve that herd immunity in 2021?
Well, to achieve herd immunity in a case of COVID-19, remember the basic reproductive rate of COVID-19 is 2 to 3. So if one person is infected, they can infect 2 or 3 people, right? So in order for us to reach the herd immunity in the case of COVID-19, at least 50 to 67% of the population need to be immunized or need to have immunity or resistance to COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. So in South Africa, 50 to 67% means we need to have at least 34 million of us, or 34 million to 46 million of us having immunity to SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. So if the vaccine that has been ordered or it's they are planning to roll out in 2021 is not going to reach the 34 million of us or 40 to 46 million of us, herd immunity would not be achieved.
Should we start perhaps focusing more on the variant as opposed to the original COVID-19? The variant also just seems to be more lethal. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but just from observation, it looks like people are dying a whole lot sooner and a whole lot more people seem to be passing away.
So in terms of the variant that has been reported in South Africa, that's the one that has made headlines and we seem to be talking about and know about. Remember, it's normal for pathogens or viruses to mutate. And since the COVID-19 or this SARS-CoV-2 started much earlier in December 2019, surely it has been mutating. The viruses mutate to adapt to new environments. So we don't know if there have been other variants before the one that was reported in South Africa that are even more lethal or more transmittable. So we also, from the literature of evidence that I've seen, there is not, it hasn't been stated that the South African variant is more virulent than the others. So I don't think we have to worry too much about the variant because there will still be more variants. We just need to keep protecting ourselves against the SARS-CoV-2. Make sure we don't, we follow all the protective measures because variants will happen all the time. And there's still more evidence to come up about this recently reported South African variants. Remember, there are many variants out there that we don't even know their behavior. We don't know much about them. So we don't know whether even the people who are dying, we're not quite sure which variant is actually affecting them.
A very sobering conversation, Professor. Thank you so much for your insight as well as your input there. That's Professor Tivani Thompson, and she's Professor and Deputy Dean of Research and Postgraduate Studies at the University of Pretoria, talking about herd immunity and the unpredictability of COVID-19, the fact that we're still learning and still discovering. Thank you so much for your time, Professor.